Mom, we didn't know your daddy had such a boring day. In the 30s, Doris and our cousin David were born. And this was an interesting thing. I'm not sure it was in the 30s. When Mother was driving the car around the curve and Margie slid out the door.
Oh, yeah.
After 30s.
Well, Doris was a baby, so it had to be in the 30s.
Okay.
She wasn't walking. It was the fall, because her birthday was in June, and it was that fall.
Well, that's why Margie always wears a seatbelt. You want to start the car and then you buckled up.
Was that right? It'll do for us. It's the best story I've got, so I'll use it.
Well, in the 40s, Mom and Dad bought their house where they lived in Irving. And one of the highlights of her whole life was when I was born, 1940.
Oh, yeah.
Very memorable.
Yeah, she was sick as a dog. You remember that part? I do remember.
I think she gets a prize for
Margie gets a prize.
Well, I'll take it.
For timing.
one of those glasses with the nose would look a lot.
I was thinking that one, Greg.
Also in the 40s, we really had some good times back then because we used to go over to Dallas Fair Park to those outdoor amphitheater musicals, and you could just see the stars. They were just filling the sky. They were so beautiful. But I'd get restless after a few thousand songs and dances up on the stage, and I'd get to wiggling around, and Mother'd say, come here and get my lap. Count those stars. I want to know how many there are. And you tell me when you find out how many there are, and I'd lay there, you know, and I'd start counting. I said, Mom, what comes after 20? 21. Count them, and I'd count them all, and I'd, of course, go to sleep, and she'd be rid of me for that night. But that was, it was fun. We'd go over to the farmer's market and get watermelons and take them home and have them in the backyard. It was a really great time. In the 50s, we used to wear the city's little buttons that people would wear. I like Ike, and that meant if you were going to vote for Eisenhower, you were encouraging other people to do that. The Korean War occurred. The Russian Sputnik was the first spaceship to satellite the Earth, and all the people in America were really disappointed that it wasn't our nation that had sent these space explorers out. So the technology race was on. People were really wanting to, we felt like that the United States was behind times, and we didn't want to be outdone in the Cold War. During this time, Daddy was preaching in Plano, and Mother was working. She worked at Neiman's and TI, and she put up foods in the freezer, and all of us really enjoyed all the good food that we had when we went to visit. Margie says Mom ironed everything. And I remember some of that ironing, and Margie, I don't think.
like we scrubbed the floor.
Yeah.
And like we polished the wax.
She got her very own first car. And back then, ladies didn't get their own cars very much, but it was a red, this fire engine red, 1959 Plymouth, and all we thought we were pretty uptight. We were pretty uptight.
Well, it beat that bus we were having.
We had those outdoor lawn chairs, and y'all would come over to see us. We'd go out in the backyard, sit in those lawn chairs. Remember that? Watch for the satellite.
I remember when you'd come over, you played the triangle, it's what you played later through the horn, and you all down the front porch, and you'd be playing with all the dogs in the neighborhood.
I remember that now.
I think Doris used to come over with her glockenspiel.
Yeah, glockenspiel, yeah. Y'all never had to come with that French horn.
Well, Doris signed up for the band and she came home bringing this big old rich horn home. And Mother said, well, why did you get that? And Doris says, well, I said I'd play because nobody else wanted to. Mother wanted Doris to go back and talk to the teacher.
So she heard me.
Well, Mom and Dad liked to travel. They were really interested in other places. So a lot of times on Friday nights, we went somewhere over in Highland Park for these free travel films. I don't remember where that was. Do you remember where that was, Mother? We used to go over to Highland Park somewhere on Friday nights and watch those free travel films. Where was that? That little theater. Travel. And also popular in those days was a card game that was called Canasta. And you started out with a handful of cards. And the word canasta in Spanish, it means basket. And it took a basket to hold all the cards by the time you got to the end of the game. Because you'd start out with 13, but anyway, you'd get other people's cards and you draw and do different things. And you finally get to lay down on your cards. If you could ever get rid of all the things, you would win. But if you ended up, somebody else went out first, well then you had to count up all the points in your hand and give it to them. So canasta, that was a very popular back then.
She always won.
She won, did she?
Yeah, she was.
Well, in the 60s, the Vietnam War came. We were really fortunate that we didn't have anybody in the family that had to serve except for one of Daddy's nephews who did serve in Vietnam, and he came back and he's just fine. There was a lot of civil unrest. Immigration had occurred in about the 50s, and there were a lot of protests that went on during those years. Seatbelts first became safety features about that time, I think, because I don't think in our 1950s cars we had them, but it seems like in some of the 60s ones we did. Mother and Daddy vacationed to a lot of different places. They began their antique business. They collected a lot of things. And although mini skirts became popular in the 60s, they were never in style at her Irving home. In the 70s, the Cold War was still on. Neil Armstrong then became the first man on the moon, and since he was from America, well, America won the technology race by being the first people to put a man on the moon. Mother and Daddy retired about that time. She got real interested in dolls, and she used to say that while Daddy was watching TV at night, well, she'd be making little doll dresses. And so she kind of got interested in dolls. They had their 50th wedding anniversary celebration. She became a great-grandmother for the first time. Then, more recently, in the 80s, she and Daddy celebrated their 60th wedding anniversary. And Mother took real good care of Daddy. And I think all of us would say that Daddy would not have lived Mother as long as he did if he hadn't taken such good care of him. After Daddy passed away in '92, well, Mother and Doris somehow became sidekicks. And so they do a lot of things together now. And most recently, well, they got their own babysitting business out of their home. And Mother's very proud that she's able to care for a young child and give her a good environment while her mother has to work. And she's enjoyed her babysitting money, and she's really good at saving that money up. Mother, I learned a lot from that money from Mother, what little money I've had. Mother always kept her money in separate pockets. This was the egg money in this pocket. This was some other kind of money, and this was the milk money. And so, you know, she'd say, well, I can buy this because this is egg money, you know. never all integrated in one pot. So just keep lots of money in every pocket, see, and that's the secret.
Save you change.
Yeah. Well, Mother started really traveling. She and Daddy had traveled a good bit, but boy, in the 1990s, she really got around. She went to Virginia. I know Margie went up to Oklahoma to a doll show one time. She went with Margie and Phil to Arkansas. She went with me to Alabama. She went to North Carolina to see, when she was up in Virginia seeing Jimmy and Cindy. And she was in Tennessee. And she and I were in Mississippi, Louisiana, and Florida. And we've been around Texas in the last several years. So several vacations, and we've had a really good time.
We've got a lot of children too.
Yes, we brought home homeless children.
We all had a good time too when we went to California.
Yeah.
We got a hail on our brand new Plymouth. Just beat it all to beat. She cried.
One of the
Just
big old
cried.
hail things is they was hitting that car, and I saw Ruth crying, and I picked up a towel and put it on my face, and I cried, and when I got through crying, it was wet as water. I cried a towel full. We had a good time on that trip, but JB all the time wanted to stop and eat.
He wanted to eat every hour or two.
We just wanted to eat 2 meals a day. And on the way home, he was driving, and he wanted to stop me. We didn't want to stop me, and he got mad at us. And you remember how reckless he drove? He was so fast, he tried to scare us to death. Ruth punched me, she said, "Don't pay attention." He was trying to scare us to death.
I know we come from California, it's so hot. They thought the car was going dead, and when I stopped and got out, I jumped back in and I said, "No, it's just hot out there." It must have been 115 degrees.
We stopped at Nate Separate that
Yeah, we stopped at 8
Yeah, but the room was so full of people, you could hardly get in there.
They're all in there trying to
So
get
hot.
comfortable.
And Jesse, wasn't that the last vacation we took together? Okay, so we have a lot to look forward to coming up. It's almost the 21st century, the new millennium, modern times once more. And from looking at the trends, you know, in my work, I look at a lot of trend charts. If we spent this much money before, and now we're spending this much, then next year, well, yes, we're going to. Ladies and gentlemen, your tax dollars at work. And I see the same thing on this chart. You know, she pretty much stuck around Texas here, but as the years went by, well, she branched out and went a lot more places. So I think in the 21st century, we can just expect to receive postcards from almost anywhere in the world.
Like London.
Well, I'll start us with telling the story that I brought to tell about Mom, and it was really hard to pick just one. There's just so many things that I could tell. When I was in high school, sometimes I'd come home real depressed because I wanted to be like the other girls and, you know, have the exact same clothes as the other girls and the same shoes and the right purse. And, oh, I wanted one of those skirts with a poodle on it. I never had one of those. And the other girls had them. And, oh, everything, you know, I just thought, oh, if only, you know, it could just be a lot better. Well, Mother she was just a wonderful coach. She would just give me the best pep talk. And she would come in there and she would never, ever say, you know, you're just feeling sorry for yourself and just straighten up. She never put it that way. She'd say, those girls are just jealous of you. They're just jealous of you. Now, that girl you were talking about, now, you just got a brand new sweater. Now, how many sweaters does she have? And I said, well, Mother, I don't know how many sweaters she has. She said, well, she's jealous because she got a new sweater. You just start counting what she's got. So I count, you know, this girl, she has 5 sweaters. Well, I don't know, I don't have any, but several more than 5. And Mother said, well, see, I told you she'd just jealous. So she really had you up, but she didn't make you feel bad while she did that. So that's my little story to tell tonight. And I know some of the others of you want to say something, so I'm going to sit down for a while now and have another glass of tea, and I'm going to listen to you tell your stories.
On tissue paper so I could make a dress for this China doll. And I just thought that I was so impressed that she could make this pattern from nothing. She just looked at the doll and took pencil and tissue paper and drew out this pattern, and I went home and made a dress for my doll. That's my story.
Said, I'm gonna get you when I get home. He said, he said, you're gonna get it. And she said, I always wondered what it was.
Tell your daddy on you when he gets home. You're gonna get it.
That's just like an old lady story. Stuff alone, days gone, house passed by, I got something else in the front of it.
My mom and Granny Ruth, I guess I went to Alabama, was that right? And she called me, Mom called, and she said, we're going to all these antique stores, and Ruth is buying dolls and dolls, and she said, I don't know where we're going. She said, I'm going to have to ship some of this stuff home, I guess, and you just have to come pick it up, and I'll just stick it in the house. And she said, I keep telling her I don't have any more room, and she just gets buying dolls and just handing them to me.
We had to have those babies.
And I tell you why I started driving.
Why?
When I really started driving. When I drive, but it didn't, you know, just one of us is driving well, the other driving well like that. But when I got behind that wheel that time, I stayed behind that wheel. We were coming from San Antonio up to Houston on vacation. And as we drove along, we came to where it had been raining. And a road ran right by the side of the railroad track. And the embankment was dropped out quite a bit, like the depth of the car completely. And he was so busy looking over across this country that he ran off of that high embankment down in the edge of that ditch, and it was just clay like dirt. And he managed to get back up on the road. But we had to cross the railroad track then to make our way. And I said, I'm tired of sitting here, I want to drive. And I got behind the wheel. And from then on, I was behind the wheel. Oh, I never was so scared in my life to look at her. And that was like a river down here. And that red looking dirt, mud or whatever it was, we just sloped right off. And we were down there, and the wheels on the right hand side was just almost in the water. Every time I think of it, I just shiver, because I think I near we pound getting in that river.
Well, she always liked to have her house looking special. And there are three of us who can testify as to how you have a special floor. She would get down on her hands and knees and wax it, and we three would take bricks wrapped up with whatever she had handy, towels that were old or whatever, and we became the polishing machine. And yes, and she liked having everything done, you know, in a proper order. And when she told the preacher one day that she had wanted them to speak on a specific subject, she asked him several times, and finally he did. And as she left the building, she said, he asked her, said, well, how was the sermon? And she said, well, the first time was very good. The second time, I thought that was for the benefit of the mothers who had little wiggly children. The third time was an insult to my intelligence.
Another thing that happened on that California trip, we were coming down the mountain, and it was steep and a lot of turns and everything. And just a fall off on this side and the brakes went out. Ruth was driving. And we came down that mountain as fast as that car could go. And everybody was hollering, stop it, stop it. And she didn't say a word. We just kept on going. And she was just working that car as hard as she could. And we finally got down to a place that was more level and stopped. And she really got on us because she said I was trying my best to stop this car. And we were coming around that mountain. You remember how scary that was?
She got it slow enough that JB and I jumped out and grabbed the whole car and everything back.
I didn't know how to stop, but I know. But
yeah, we both got a hold of it when we got out.
She was so nervous, she sat there and cried a little bit after we got stopped.
I just got my tools out, got on and started adjusting the brakes.
And I want to tell this tale and then I'll shut up. But I drove the car from the time that I just got me